Professor Martin Lewis Clark State College, and if you are receiving this video communication, you must be one of my mentees. And just as a reminder, Lewis Clark State College assigns all first year students both an academic advisor and a faculty mentor. And the role of the faculty mentor is to be a resource for you for any of the questions you have about how to negotiate various aspects of college. And today I want to talk with you about what you should be doing in terms of thinking about second semester of college. How do you get yourself prepared for spring 21? But before we do that, welcome to the midterms. All right, midterm fall 2020, you did it. Here you are. Congratulations. No matter what kind of condition you're in, congratulations. Here you are. It has been a very interesting semester, right? All the way around. So, nice work. Now, even in regular times when we don't have COVID to deal with, this time of year in my 100 level courses, I see a lot of students drop, in my opinion, unnecessarily. I see a lot of students, well, I actually don't see students anymore, who I wish would have had a conversation with me before they decided to drop the course. And I bring this up because some of y'all might be in this same position, trying to wonder, should you drop a course? Should you not drop a course? And I'm going to encourage you to go and speak to the faculty member who teaches that class before you drop a course to find out whether you really need to drop. And I'll give a quick example in my own cases. There have been many times when I've got students that for the first half of the semester, for whatever reason, right, whether they weren't academically prepared, whether they weren't putting the time in, or whether they had things going on in their personal lives, but for whatever reason, these students got suboptimal grades the first half of the semester. They were there occasionally, maybe they were there quite a bit, but the grades were pretty suboptimal. And there's the assumption sometimes on the part of students that what they need to do is drop, try it again later. But I think that there's also some value to just continuing to move forward with the second half of the semester. There's a lot of semester left. And what I tell students in my 100 level courses is if you've received suboptimal grades the first half of the semester, you want to see if you can make, solid C's, solid B's the second half of the semester, and put me in the position of having to decide whether or not the grades from the first half of the semester really reflect what you've learned in the class. Or based on your grades, and let's just say you got a bunch of 40s and 50s and maybe an occasional 60 the first half of the semester, and the second half of the semester it's rock solid 70s with the occasional 80. The signal to me is you got on board with the program and figured it out. Whether it was time management, whether it was, academic skills, whether it was whatever in your personal life settled down. And under those circumstances, I'd like to see students stay because clearly you're learning and you've already paid for it, right? So you guys talk with your advisor about some of these things, or not your advisor, but the faculty member, before you think that it's in your best interest to drop a course, because I'm not so certain about that. But anyway, here we are at the midterms. Advanced registration for spring 21 is right around the corner. It starts November the 9th. And you guys want to be cleared for registration by your advisor. Okay? So you got to be cleared for registration before you can register. So you need to make a meeting, an appointment with your advisor, so you can be cleared for registration. And you need to do that fairly soon. Now, the thing is that in order to do that, one, you need to know who your advisor is. And for most of you, that's going to be somebody over in the Academic Advising Center. So make sure you know who it is, get an appointment with them. But the other thing that you need to do is you need to prepare for this appointment. This is your education, right? This is your education. And so, if I can get everything to work properly, ooh, look at that. I will show you how I think it is probably best for you to prepare for this. All right, so this is the web page for academic advising. This is where you figure out who your advisor is. If you right here, the first year guide, this is a good time to review the first year guide and just skim over some things, because the next two things I'm going to show you come directly out of that first year guide. Navigating your first year. One is your advising responsibilities. So you want to make sure that you understand what, as a student, your responsibilities are. And again, it's your degree. You want to make sure that you understand how it works and what you're actually doing. So for first year students, you really need to be focusing on Gen Ed. And this next document is also directly out of that navigating the first year experience. And more or less, all students at LCSC have to take these classes. If you don't know what your major is, and there's no reason you should at this point, take Gen Ed courses. These courses are the courses that you need to be a generally educated person. You need to know something about math. You need to know something about how science works. You need to know something about history. You need to know something about how the English language works. And you guys can just kind of go through that. This is the foundation for your major. No matter what your major is built on top of this stuff. And so you need to make sure you have a solid foundation. And these courses will help give you the skills to be a better whatever major you're looking at. So this is where you should focus your efforts at this point. So show up to your appointment with your advisor with a list of courses from Gen Ed here that you plan to take in the spring, and with an idea of how they fit into your career goals and your major. And maybe you don't have any career goals at this point. Maybe you just, I want to get through college. Fine. That's part of it. Now, you got to do something more than just pick the classes out, though. You need to go to the course catalog, and this is running directly off Warrior Web, and I'll just kind of fire this back to the search engine. And show up with a proposed schedule. All right? Because what you want to do is you want to use your advisor for advice on your plan. But you want to come up with that plan yourself. You don't want to show up to your advisor's office and ask them what time you should take classes or whatever. You want to show up with a general plan, and then you guys can tinker with it. Now, at one point in time, the course catalog came in the form of kind of a newspaper, sort of like the Pathfinder, where all the classes that were being taught that semester were listed and you could just kind of look through and see what was up. Now it's all done online and you kind of have to know a little bit more what you're looking for, which in some ways is a little bit of a bummer because you don't flip through it and see, ooh, astronomy, I didn't even know we offered that. Interesting. But that's just the way it is. But I want to show you a couple of things about what you might need to know in terms of using the search engine. You know, to begin with, you have to plug in the proper term, right? As in when the courses are offered. And then you can pick your subject. And since I teach history, that's the subject we use. And then you've got all these other ways you can add things, whether it's the day of the week, whether it's the time of day. I like to do it just subject and, you know, call it good. And boom, you know, coincidentally, you know, my classes come up first, right? So maybe we'll use those. History 102. But the other thing that you need to know is you got to click on this view available things. All you're seeing here is the catalog and the catalog description. And in some of the courses, the catalog description won't even tell you much. You actually have to click on the available sections to see what's up. But here we go. It says we got 3 sections of History 102 being offered in the spring. And it tells you when they are. It tells you that these 2 sections are 100% online, discussion board videos. And it says that this section is a hybrid section that's actually supposed to be changing. It's going to be a Zoom section, all right, live on Zoom. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the days, it tells you the times of days. So what you want to do is you want to go through your schedule and start figuring out when you can take classes, when you want to take classes, what works for you. Now I want to say a couple of things about that while I have your attention. A couple of classes you need to be on the lookout for. English 102. English 102 is a prereq for almost all of your upper division classes. So you need to get English 102 taken care of as soon as you can. And my understanding is that English 102 fills up pretty fast. So you want to be academically cleared to register so you can get into a section at the time or from the instructor that you want it from. That's English 102. The other thing that we need to talk about is math. Okay? Math is the Achilles heel for so many LCSC students. It was my Achilles heel too. But I passed. And so can you. All right? So do not put your math off until your senior year and have that, you know, hanging around your neck. What you want to do is determine at whatever semester it is that it's time for you to take math. And if you have some math phobia, or if you've never been, you know, particularly skillful at it, then as part of your schedule for that semester, you just need to plan to be in the math lab. You might need to plan to go ahead and find yourself a math tutor and put the effort, put the time in. We all need to have some mathematical reasoning skills. We all need to understand how math works. It's harder for some of us than others, but you can do it. So when you get ready for that, if you're sort of a math phobe, plan for some extra time. All right, plan for some extra time. Maybe you don't take quite as many classes that semester as you might have because you want to be able to spend extra time with your math. You'll have to figure that out. And as long as I'm talking about classes, I'm just going to give some shameless self-promotion here for History 102. History 102 is designed for freshmen. Same thing with History 101. And by the way, History 101 doesn't necessarily prepare you for History 102. History, we start with the clean slate at the beginning. They're just numbers, right? It identifies what period of history we're looking at. History 102 does not assume that you've taken History 101. And one of the things we do in History 102 is it is a course that is specifically designed for freshmen. And in addition to learning some really cool stuff about the history of the world over the last 500 years, that's the time frame for History 102, we also focus on academic skills, time management, how to read difficult documents, how to put together short papers, how to feel comfortable talking about history in front of a friendly audience, how to develop your analytical thinking so that you can actually make a reasonable argument. All these kinds of skills will help you be a better whatever major you're planning to be. So you guys think about that. I'd love to see you in this class. So start planning your schedule, start getting it all sorted out, and make an appointment with your advisor to go and talk with them about your plan. Now let's talk about plans, right? That whole best laid plans of mice and men business. You know, COVID-19 has really thrown a lot of plans for a loop. Your plans, my plans, everybody's plans. There may be more online sections than you're really interested in. It's just the way it is right now. In terms of trying to keep people safe, in terms of capacity for classrooms, all that kind of stuff. So, and frankly, what things look like when we come out the other end of this, we don't really know. I mean, we may be entering the age of Zoom, in which so much of your work life is going to be involved doing Zoom stuff. It might be best not to avoid it, right? So you guys work with that. Your faculty are working with it. People are working with it. It's something new for a lot of people, but that's just the way things are right now. And I want to talk about that for just a second. And I'll just use my own course, but it's going to apply to a few other courses. That History 102 course that's listed as the hybrid course, the 70, it's actually going to be changed to a Zoom section. The online education through Zoom is different. The online education through the modified face-to-face stuff is different. We're learning some new things about the online education asynchronous wise. But it's all part of the package here. And so, for lack of a better way to say it, let's make it through this year and see what things look like in the fall. I think the spring 21 is going to look a whole lot like fall 2020. But what fall 21 looks like, who knows, right? Who knows? So start planning your schedule, make an appointment with your advisor, get that stuff taken care of. And then finally, here you are at the end of your first semester of college. Actually, you're at the middle of your first semester of college, right? But you're signing up for your second semester. If you still don't know what your major is, you're in a good place. All right, you're in a good place. And if you want to talk about how to pick a major, that is a great reason to make an appointment with me, and we can talk about those kinds of things. But it is totally reasonable to remain undeclared throughout your entire freshman year. Take care of Gen Ed. It's totally reasonable to remain undeclared for the first part of your sophomore year. At some point, you need to start thinking about things so that you can at least have an idea, right, about where you want to go. But if you're still trying to figure it out, that's exactly what Gen Ed's for. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing first year of college. My advice is don't worry about it. Enjoy the ride. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me an email. We'll set up a virtual appointment and we'll talk about things. So good luck, and we'll see you around campus.